coverage of the protests that took place on April 5th. There were protests that were taking place in all 50 states of the United States of America. All 50 states. Yet there was no coverage. We saw people going live. They were on Instagram Live, Facebook Live, TikTok Live, showing that the protests were happening. They indeed were happening. But why is there no media coverage on those protests? In the lives that I was seeing, that I was streaming, I saw that there were a lot of people out there. And surprise, surprise, there were a lot of white people and a lot of vets, right? And not only was I paying attention to who was in the crowd, I was paying attention to the police officers, to law enforcement, where they were, what they were doing, how did they look, how they were behaving, because I've witnessed, I've been a part of several protests, especially during the Black Lives Matter, and I know what law enforcement was looking like when it was you understand those type of protests back in 2020. So I was looking out in the videos, in the streams, looking to spot law enforcement, to see the barricades, to see law enforcement in fucking bulletproof vests with K9 dogs and batons and forcing and huddling everybody in one corner. I was looking out for that. But I didn't see it. I didn't see any of it. I didn't see any of the treatment that would have been out there, that we would have seen had a lot of black people been out there protesting alongside those white people and those veterans. And that leads me into my next point. The reason why there was no media coverage showing all of these protests that were happening simultaneously in all 50 states was because it would have to showcase that it was all white people, old people, veterans that were fighting, literally saying that Trump is ruining this country. See, they're not going to listen to me and you, black, brown. You understand when we say that Trump is literally ruining this country. This administration is going to ruin this country. But if they see Mima and Papa, you understand? They see their grandma, they see their veterans, their vets, their uncles, grandfathers, whoever, out there literally saying, I am a recovered MAGA supporter. Please do not support MAGA. If they were to see that in all 50 states, white people would have to think more. They would have to think more and open up their minds and get woke, the very thing that they don't want them to do. But y'all do know for a fact that if it was black people that was out there alongside with them, that's the crazy thing about it. Even if they were there, like some of them were there as allies during the Black Lives Matter protests, even if they were there, as soon as we were alongside them, best believe law enforcement would have been out there in full force. They would have been out there in full force. And best believe, sometime during this week, we would have gotten some announcement of martial law being enacted. I just wanted to put that out there. So for all the people who was like, why weren't black people protesting? It was out of safety, and it's because we knew. We knew if we wasn't there, that it would actually be a peaceful protest. And it's not even to say that they were peaceful. If you were listening to some of the shit that these people were saying, they was rowdy, okay? But they still was met with respect. The type of respect that black people would have never been given. We've never been given that opportunity. We've never been given that privilege. And this is why we as black people have to figure out another way to boycott and another way to protest. Because going out there in the streets is literally a death wish.
Hi guys, it's Nagira here. Thanks for clicking on this video. So I really wanted to share this video because it really made sense, and I'm pretty sure most of us have seen, like, you know, the outcome of the protest and how, you know, it's really seen like the US is just like full of racism, really. Like the foundation of it is just insane, and the respect really that was given to people in this protest is beyond recognition. Actually, okay, we recognize it, but like, I'm sure most of the people really understood the system, and yeah. But then I also made a lot of videos of white people coming out and really calling out about their own. Like, you know what, we should really acknowledge, like, the reason why, the media is somehow, or people are seeing that it was a peaceful protest, is because it was us on the streets. And now we know that we are the ones that actually have to be on the front line for the country, for the things to change, because we are given this respect. We are, treated differently. And if it was the other way around, with people of color, black people, to be coming on the street, it would be a mess, just like in 2020. It was crazy. It was crazy. And every protest I've seen, black people, there's always like cops, there's always like a lot of law enforcement. But honestly, even me, I did not see any law enforcement anywhere. I did not see anything. It's like the same way where I saw a group of, palmed, people, cave people that, went to a black prominent place and were trying to provoke them, and they were actually protected by the police. Like, I saw that, I was like, that's insane, that's crazy, that's wild. But then still, if it was the other way around, if it was the black people that went to, a white place, yeah, it would be. People are seeing that it was a peaceful protest, is because it was us on the streets. And now we know that we are the ones that actually have to be on the front line for the country, for the things to change, because we are given this respect. We are, treated differently. And if it was the other way around, with people of color, black people, to be coming on the street, it would be a mess, just like in 2020. It was crazy. It was crazy. And every protest I've seen, black people, there's always like it.
Keep saying the hands-off protests were so peaceful. Like that's some kind of surprise. But if you're white like me, you need to think about what actually made that possible. White people, you really need to sit with this. The protests were peaceful because we were the ones in the streets. Black, brown, and indigenous folks stayed home. Not because they don't care, but for two reasons. One, it's not safe for them to show up. Two, it's not their problem to fix. We've all seen what happens when marginalized people show up in big numbers. Suddenly it's tear gas, rubber bullets, arrest, and just straight up violence. So yeah, the protests were peaceful, but it wasn't because the system listened better. It's because whiteness made it safe for us to show up. And while we're naming things, let's be real. White people put 45 in office, not black voters, not brown voters, not indigenous voters, us. We built this system. We keep it running, and too many white folks are still clinging to it out of comfort, denial, or fear of giving up power. So if you're white and feeling proud that the protests were peaceful, cool. But ask yourself, what are you doing with that safety your skin gives you? Are you showing up when it matters most, or just when it's comfortable? Because this fight, this is our fight, not just in solidarity, but in accountability. 45 is a white problem. The system is a white problem, and it's on us to dismantle it. So you're hearing that the hands-off April 5th protests yesterday were so peaceful, and everything was great, and there was like no violence, no escalation, and that it was also predominantly white people, predominantly white women. Here's the thing, here's the really important point. It is not that the people who were in attendance yesterday, right, the predominantly white people, the predominantly white women, are inherently more peaceful and law-abiding, and they just know how to do it, right? That's not the reality, okay? It is because they were met with a different level of force, being none, like a lack thereof, as opposed to when movements are predominantly about and backed up by people of color, right, where people, especially black people, especially black women, they are met with a different level of force, not only by police, but by like random conservative militia groups that were showing up every single day at the BLM protests. Like, there is a stark difference, not in the way in which the protesters are protesting, but a stark difference in the way in which power and force and violence, especially state-sanctioned, is responding to the protests themselves. That has to be a very, very important distinction that we make, because this is not a failing of other movements. This is a failing of our police presence, of the militias, of the power and force and violent force therein. Ultimately, who gets to protest peacefully and who gets met with extreme and violent force is not due to the protesters yesterday we saw the stark contrast between what it looks like to be a white body versus what it looks like to be a black body in places, in public spaces where you are allowed to protest and talk about your humanity and your rights. We saw a difference. And again, it's not because of the protesters, it's because of the force in which they were met. Hey, white people, let's talk. Sometimes I forget that white people aren't as engaged with Black creators on this app and in the world as I am. So there was something over the weekend that I thought everybody was very well aware of, but I'm understanding that that's not the case. I was talking to my mom today, and she and my brother went to a protest on April 5th to protest Trump and all of the things that have been happening for the last couple of months. So she was telling me about her experience, and she said it was like a love fest. It was so nice to be with all of these people, thousands of people, and everybody signs and all this stuff. And I said to her, did you notice that there weren't many Black people there, if any? She was like, yeah, actually, I did notice, and I was confused, and I was like, I thought Black people were really upset about him too, and I didn't understand. This is my mom talking. So I explained to her that 92% of Black women and 80-some% of Black men did what they were supposed to do back on November 5th, and they are now resting, and they are not participating in these here protests, and that there was a concerted effort for Black folks to stay home yesterday on April 5th. And to be honest, I think she's still confused about the why, but I'm working on that. But do yourself a favor and follow Black content creators here on TikTok, because you will learn so much, and you will be able to use your new knowledge to help educate the people that you are in proximity with. But yeah, wait, folks, if you didn't know, Black folks said we're not marching on April 5th. We're not doing it. We're gonna stay home. We're gonna let white people get us out of this mess, because white people got us into this mess. The more you know.
Did you know that yesterday's hands-off protests were peaceful, not because Black people didn't show up, but because white people did? Hello, I'm Earl from CBU, Crackers Being Useful, and I want to get into this. I've been seeing some stuff about how peaceful the protests were yesterday, and people are correlating that with the fact that most Black people stayed at home. If anything, this proves how aggressive the police are with Black protesters. It has nothing to do with the protesters that didn't show up. It has everything to do with the protesters that did show up. It was peaceful because white people are treated differently by the police than Black people. And another thing I want to add right here at the end is I'm seeing a lot of stuff from white folks talking about how we got to do something because they were raised white trash, they were raised poor, so on and so forth. I want you to stop for a second. If you've been telling yourself this, if you've been telling yourself that you know the Black experience because you are white trash or raised poor, I need you to stop equating poverty with Black people. Please. Y'all have a good day.
You know, the fact.
So where is the Black community? Why aren't they participating in the protest? 90%, or should I say 95% of both women and men from the Black community in America, they voted for Kamala Harris. That is the reality. And for a long time, the Black community, they sing this song telling the whole country in America that if you vote for Republican, this is what's going to happen. And this is what exactly is happening now. For a couple of months right now, we have seen so many changes in America. We have seen mass deportation. We have seen people losing jobs. We have seen Medicare being cut down. there's so much is happening, and people are being affected left, right, and center under this current administration, and this is the reality. So for the black community, they said, you know what, we are going to sit this one out. We are going to be at our homes. We are going to be watching this, and we are expecting the white community to do something, because they're the ones who put the whole country, or the whole everybody in America in this situation. It's true. The white community are the people who majority who voted for the current administration. So they are the same people who are now supposed to join this demonstration. They're the ones who to join this protest, the demonstration that is happening in the country. They're the ones who literally need to spread information on what people need to do, so that they can, you know, come up with better bills, better policies that are going to help the people in America. Basically, that's what is happening. So what will happen if the black community had joined this demonstration or this protest in America on 5th April? Of course, you'll have seen a different outcome. Usually what happens is, when the police see black community, they usually react automatic and they become more aggressive. I don't know why. I don't know if whether it's mentally a program. I don't know. All they know is, when they see a black person, they usually react aggressively or violently towards that person. So if majority of the black community had joined the demonstration, then things will maybe become more chaotic, more aggressive, more you see maybe violence on the demonstration. Things will have turned out maybe probably a lot different. But if the police see white people, they usually are more tolerant. They are usually more understanding. They're usually more, you know, patient, you know, to see how things will turn out. They will not react violently or aggressive towards the masses, who are majority are white, and that is the reality. And basically, that's what happened. So FAFO season continuing, people have been warned during the campaign, during the voting season, that if you vote for the red Republicans, this is what's going to happen. If you vote for the Democrats, this is what's going to happen. So people ended up voting the way they did, and now it's come, these are the results. So don't complain, don't ask, don't cry and say, where are the black community? The black community, they did their part during the election time, during the voting time. Now they're sitting at home watching what is happening in the country, and they're saying, we are going to sit this one out. We are waiting for the white community to do something about it, because they are the ones who put this whole mess on American people. Let me know what you think about this video, and of course drop your comments.